Hey everyone, Steve Prescott here and
Rebecca Hess
from REMAX Capitol Properties, coming to you live from our big video studio. What's actually kind of funny here is, you see the news and that on like Channel 5 and that, and then you actually go there in person and see where they record it, and it's this little tiny miniature set.
little tiny thing.
This is what kind of reminds me of this. But we've had a really cool video room that we've had here at REMAX for years. Since we remodeled this side of the office, and we made it with a green screen. And so the green screen, what's funny is that's pretty much irrelevant anymore. No one does a green screen, and so everyone just does, their videos. So anyway, we just packed right back into our old video room, and here we are. We'll see how it works out.
And it looks good, and I just go where you tell me to go. I'm not sure about any of that technology.
So for all of you, again, REMAX Capitol Properties coming to you live. It's what is today? Wednesday, right? Yes. And this is usually the Rebecca Hess show. Rebecca Hess usually runs all of these. I was asked to show up today, which was great.
I need to have my own sign back here or something that says that, right?
One of the cool lights.
Right? Rebecca
really
REMAX
cool.
or something.
So anyway, it's just funny how, we usually run with all these, and you have all these great topics, and so I think it's great that you do that, and I think people get used to hearing what you have to say, so that's great. So what are we going to talk about today?
I was just saying, if you're setting me up to throw something out there, that's not okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we in our meeting yesterday, it came up a couple times, and maybe we start off with that about buyer's agency and where that falls in. And I have had some buyers reach out to me as a listing agent personally lately, and I know other agents have talked about that, even that some lenders were recommending to their clients reach out to the listing agent versus getting a buyer's agent. And so I thought maybe we would talk a little bit about that before we kind of maybe look at market trends or whatever. But me personally, because I do a lot more listings than I do with buyers. I do both, but definitely more listings. And I know from a listing agent perspective, there's that temptation to want to have the buyers come to you because, I don't know, for me, sometimes it kind of streamlines the process and you can get through things a little bit easier. But I would say as a mom of buyers or as a buyer myself, I just really feel strongly that everybody should have their own representation. And I think it works out better for everyone in the long run if they do have their own representation. So I would recommend that. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is now like my 31st year in real estate, which is hard to imagine. But so over the years, I've seen things really kind of come and go and different trends with representation and buyer agent and seller agent and all that jazz. When I first got into the business, buyer representation or buyer agency was really new to the scene. It was coming in, and for years before that, it was really a sellers-driven market, meaning the agents really only represented the seller, and it was buyer beware. Yeah. So I represent the seller, you beware, and I'm representing the seller. Buyers never had any representation. So that's when it switched, was about 30 years ago or so. And so what is my take on that? I really feel like it's a fantastic thing to have representation. You need to have an advocate for someone that can, for several reasons. The biggest one, in my opinion, is probably just experience and knowing the game. Because as with any profession, there's a game to it. There's a way you have to do things. Absolutely. And if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what the game is, and you don't know really how to play. You don't know what the rules are. So it's really helpful to have an agent, an advocate on your side to be able to play the game, but also to really have someone to help you negotiate. Oh, because absolutely. I don't know how many how many times you negotiate the sale of your house, but if you don't do it every day, like we do it every day, if you do it once every 10 years, you may not be that great at negotiating. Yeah. And especially if you have kids, because kids are the best negotiators ever. They always win. So if you have kids, sometimes you can turn into a pretty big pushover. And so you're like, well, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll give in. I'll go halfway. You go halfway. Right. But really, I think there's several reasons. But the big one would be just knowing the rules, having someone advocate for you to negotiate. And then the other thing is, if you don't get someone and stick with them, like let's say you find a good fit for you as a buyer's agent, you feel like we're going to be on the same team, we've got to get through this together, we're going to work together. How do I want to put this? It really wastes a lot of their time and the other agent's time if they bounce to a lot of different agents.
I agree.
And here's why. Yeah. So I'm going to go see a doctor, and I got a problem with my shoulder. I have a shoulder problem right now. So I'm going to go see one doctor, and I'm going to tell the doctor, I've got this problem, and we're going to try this, this, and this. And then I think, I'm not vibing with this doctor.
Yeah.
I need to change doctors. So I'm going to go to a different doctor. Now I get to that other doctor, and guess what I have to do? I have to go, well, I need to do this. I've tried this. And then they go, well, let's try this, and this. Well, I already tried that. Well, I've got to try that again.
Yeah.
We've got to try that because maybe my way works. So I think it wastes a lot of the agent's time, which obviously that's what we have, and we hopefully don't waste time. But we really don't want to waste the time of the client either.
Yeah. Well,
I think they can waste a lot of time if they bounce from different agent to agent, even if it's on each, listing. I think there's a lot of time waste.
Yeah.
And we never get our time back. That's the only thing we have. But,
I agree.
So you asked my opinion, and that was, sorry, I ran
That's
with it.
okay.
But
No, I agree. And I think as a buyer's agent, when I do work with my clients, it only takes one or two houses that we look at where I start to understand really what they're looking for.
Yes.
Right? So you start to understand kind of their story and really what it is, what they want. And it's so much easier at that point to really pull out the good properties for them. Things that you think are really going to fit with them. Now, that being said, there's always that outlier that you think you know exactly what they want and they end up buying something totally different, right? So,
I don't want anything on the east side of town. But the next thing you know, they're going, I got to look at this house on the east side. No, you know what? The east side. Or the west side, or the north side, or the south side. Yeah.
Exactly. But I do think you get to know your buyers and their families and kind of know what they're looking for. And it's so much easier to go into it. And then also you get to know what they're concerned about and the things, so you can just kind of hit that up front with them when you're looking at houses and then entering into negotiations. So I do think it helps a ton to have your own representation on that. And then from a listing agent perspective, I feel a lot more comfortable being able to work with my sellers because that's our, fiduciary responsibility as to who we represent as an agent. And it is a little bit hard sometimes to play that tricky game in between if you're working with both of them because truly your fiduciary responsibility is to one, even though I would hope that, all of us at REMAX and all agents out there would be really honest and help anyone they're working with, but there is a responsibility there that we have as an agent for our client.
Right.
So.
And it'll be sometimes a little dicey in between. But I would say overall, a lot of times if you are able to work with a buyer on the listing, a lot of times it gels really well because you kind of know what each person needs to a degree. Yeah. But again, it can put you in a tough position too. Especially, it's hard to always have that feeling of maybe the seller or the buyer feels like you're maybe weighted one way or the other, and that's never a great position to be in.
In our meeting yesterday, when we had a couple of our agents in our office talk about lenders who were sending their clients to the listing agent, I think we said this too, that that's probably just a matter of education. Why would they be sending them to listing agent? And I know with NAR and the big settlement that came out, there may be some misunderstanding of how that works and what that's about. So maybe some more education to our buyers on that, or to the buyers out there, or to our lender friends that we work with, just on why that's important to send them to a buyer.
Now, how about, so we talked about working with an agent on the buyer side. What do you think on the selling side?
As far as how important that is?
Working with an agent.
100%. So we've done this before, and I may have talked to this previously, but we sold our first house here, which we bought from you, by the way, but we sold it for sale by owner. How many years later? I would never, ever do that again. Now that I know what I know, absolutely, I look back and kick myself because I know, first off, we would have made way more money had we reached out and had you list it for us, right? Just because you understand the market, you understand what we're working with, it would have just been so much easier. In hindsight, I would definitely say, for us, I would never do that again. I would definitely reach out to an agent. I just think, as a selling agent, we do this so often, and I can prep my sellers for what to expect when it goes on the market. We can talk about the different price ranges, we can talk about the amenities, we can talk about all the different ways we can market their home and get it out there in front of the right people. And we do this all day, every day. This is what we live, eat, breathe, is real estate. My husband yesterday joked around, he was talking to somebody, he's like, you just need to talk to Rebecca. She's like the house whisperer. She knows. And I appreciate that. I don't know if I would call myself a house whisperer, but he's like, she would know. But we do know a lot of the answers, or we know where to find the answers to questions that, somebody off the, just putting their house on the market for the first time or without the experience is not going to know or understand. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, for sure. So what are you seeing with the market? What do you think? Because you have some really, really awesome, beautiful, kind of high-end homes.
I do.
That are listed. And then you have some others that are selling really fast in that too. So what are you seeing in the high end?
The high end, we're still getting showings. There's still interest out there. I know it's a new world. I've been in real estate now over 7 years, and I remember $1 million houses, that was just unheard of, right? And now I have, 3 listings right now, sitting over $1 million.
It's your new niche.
Right. So it was just something that wasn't out there. But there are still clients coming. There's people coming. And, when I do my marketing for my $1 million plus houses, all these high-end homes, we really try to focus on areas we know people are coming in from, because I do think there's some upward movement here in Cheyenne, people moving up. But I do think most of the people coming to look at these high-end homes are coming from Colorado or coming from California or Oregon or Washington. So I kind of, I do my marketing. I really focus on some of those areas. But yeah, we are getting showings. Obviously, that's a price point that not everybody is comfortable with or able to do. So as far as buyers, it's not as many. My homes that fit in some of those lower price ranges are definitely, we're getting multiple offers on things. And we've talked about this often in our meetings. If we price these houses right, there's just no reason for them to sit too long, I don't think.
Right.
That's a big deal. And so kind of what I'm feeling right now is kind of a struggle between sellers and buyers. I think sellers, we're still kind of living in that overpriced range. You know what I mean? So I do feel like from seller's perspective, we want to get every dollar we can out of that, but we're kind of sitting high on some of these things. But I also think from a buyer, we're not understanding that we're getting multiple offers again. You can't ask for the world on these houses. If you really want to get in and get that house at some of these price ranges, you got to put in your best offer. Don't be messing around with, and that's not the case in all of them, but that would be my advice is talk to your agent about the price ranges. Let's see what's happening, because they're all so different. You can't say about the market as a whole, this is what's happening. I just think it's, with the price ranges, it's different.
Yeah, I've called it little like micro markets in different areas, and so certain ones are just going crazy, certain ones are a little more sluggish. So a lot of different things. You need some help and being, again, having an advocate for you. It was refreshing. Before CFD came in, I was looking at some of the numbers, and so our inventory had gotten up to about 395 homes in Laramie County.
Yeah.
And are under contracts. So we were used to around 300 homes. We went up to about 390. So that was a 30% swing on inventory up. And then our under contracts, we had been used to around 300, and that dropped to about 260.
Okay.
So, the delta between the two was close to 50%. It was by the time you take the under contracts out of
Frontier Days?
It was right before it. And so I thought, well, it was about a week before Frontier Days. And I thought, well, we're starting to see that little bit of a shift in inventory in that. And so a little concerning. But today I looked right before we started this, and, our inventory is down a little bit. It's about 370, 375, somewhere in there. And then our under contracts are up a little bit again in Laramie
So we're starting
County. So it's coming back together. I, yesterday, let's see, it was Monday, Tuesday, and then today, a lot of new listings. A lot of people are waiting to hit the market after Frontier Days. I've always told every seller, let's wait until we get through Frontier Days to put something on the market, because it kind of gets lost, kind of gets left behind. And so I was a little concerned about the market. I think it's leaning back a little bit the other way, tightening a little, not a lot, but I mean it's improving some. There was a lot of talk about this coming week we were going to maybe see a interest rate reduction on short-term financing or loans, and then that usually trickles into some long-term. But you said
it did not. I read just before coming in here that they made no changes again today.
So it's okay.
Which it is what it is, right? For that, I think that eventually is going to happen. It's just a matter of when and how much part of me is kind of fearful for that, because we have seen with those lower interest rates how much it ramps up. And I know our inventory's, it's pretty good compared to where we were in 2021, 2020, when it was so low. So our
80 homes.
Right. So we're much better now, but once those interest rates come down, the competition's going to be fierce for especially these lower price ranges, right? I know that for me with these $1 million luxury homes that we've got on market, that'll trickle up there. I don't know if that's the right word, trickle up or however to that eventually, which would be nice. But I think, man, if you're trying to get into those lower price ranges, it's just going to be harder. It's a little bit more competition. Not that it's not doable, but it is a little bit harder. So that's why you need a good agent to help you walk through how do you put your best foot forward when you're presenting an offer on a home.
Yeah.
Right?
What'd you see happening during Frontier Days? Were you working?
I was busy during Frontier Days.
So were you doing much work, or did you have things happening?
Well,
I know you would do it if it was there.
Yeah,
if you had work to do.
No, we had showings still on all of our properties, because typically in July we see that slow down, so you kind of wait for it, and then Frontier Days. All of my listings had showings for Frontier Days. I didn't see much of a change for that week, and that may be atypical for I just got lucky with that. We got a couple things things under contract, but I haven't felt the slowdown yet. I think it's been pretty steady all summer.
Yeah.
For me, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I say it's such an interesting market, but I do like how you say micro markets, right? Because, I feel like I can see a listing, I'm going to be putting this one out there, and I'm like, oh man, I think we're going to get a lot of interest on this if you're right in the price range and in the area, and it's going to happen. But you can also say, oh, this one's probably going to sit for a little bit longer because where we're at price range. But that's why I say you really need a good agent who's really on top of what's happening in all the areas of town.
I think a lot of buyers too, while they continually look, because right now their motivation isn't as high. I think interest rates the higher interest rates keep some of the motivation down. Like they're not overly motivated to have any pressure to buy. Like there's a little bit of a lag there. But as they watch the market and they see things hit the market, they do notice and start to feel comfortable with what you get for the money.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times it's very interesting how buyers know what they should get. And when you come out a little too strong on the price, even if it's $10,000, which you'd think you could sway maybe, $10,000-$15,000, but boy, the buyers really do catch on to it, and it gets rejected sometimes. It's like, and then you can have that little bit of a $10,000 price reduction, and it takes off again. And so it's amazing how in tune the buyers can be with the market.
Yeah, which I agree. I think working with the buyers, I do have a couple buyers right now. One coming from out of state, and one that's a family friend, adorable couple buying their first house. I'm super excited for them, and man, just. Talking to them and educating them, both of them were really wise in the offers they put in. We sat down and, your first thought is, let's lowball and do this. I'm like, no, we don't want to do this. It's been on market 48 hours. Let's get in there. Here's what I'd recommend. Obviously, do what you want, but here's why I would recommend that. And both of them put in great offers and got accepted right away, which was, and multiple offers on both houses. So it was fantastic. But I think that our clientele out there is pretty smart. They do look and see what's happening in the market, and they have access to so much more information than we had when we bought our first house. So,
so another piece of that, like you're talking, is they confided in you.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah.
And maybe not every person will do that with their agent.
Yeah.
And I think if you're not, maybe there's something wrong with it. Maybe there's some lack of trust there or whatever. But if you're not, you should maybe find an agent that you can confide in.
Yes.
Because it's so nice when I can rely on getting information somewhere that I need help with.
Yes.
So like we bought a home in Aberdeen, South Dakota.
I saw that.
And so I'm not familiar with their market, but I talked to an agent, and she's been in the business a long time, and I said, what should I expect in the market? So if someone said, what should I expect? I need to buy a home for $420,000. What should I expect to pay for it? You'd be able to give them some guidance. In this case up there, it's like, the market it's not quite as expensive, and I thought maybe we'd be able to come down maybe $5,000 to $3,000 or something, in this price range. And she's like, no, probably $10,000 to $12,000. I'm like, wow, nice. Okay, that's great to know. So we start, you can kind of have a trajectory on where you need to start with. And so having that value of confiding in your agent is really great. And, I know it's easy for me to say because I'm on the other side of this. I'm not in front of people and they're not looking at me. But it's really great if they listen to you and you can listen to them. And you have a great team, because you will get some work done and you'll get what needs to be done in buying a home or selling the home if they at least listen to you and you listen to them. I can tell you what, it's a great teamwork thing, and you'll get it done.
Yeah. So, well, and I love that. I think as an agent, I just love when people are like, tell me what you think we should do. Obviously, we don't want to steer anybody and tell them what, here's what you have to do. But I would give them advice all day long because of what I see and what I work with and how my experience, what I'd offer them. It's obviously up to them. They're what they want to offer, what they want to list for. But that's such a huge pat on the back when I have a client that's like, oh, tell me what you think. I trust your opinion on this. And I'm like, thank you.
And it's even better when it works out.
I know. I love that.
It usually does.
Like, yes. But it is. It's awesome. And then also, I think, too, find an agent not only that you can work with, but I think would be really good working with other agents. That's a big deal. It's our relationships with each other as we work with buyers and sellers agents. That's a big deal. And I think overall here at REMAX, we do great with that. I hesitate not one bit to work with anybody in this office. And then overall here in Cheyenne, we have such great agents that I think if you find someone that you feel could work easily, not only with you, but with other people, man, it's just going to help make it a win-win for everybody.
Yep.
I think. So.
Everyone wants to get to the common goal
Yeah.
finish. So anyway, well, thanks for tuning in today to here at REMAX Capitol Properties, coming to you live with Rebecca Hess, Steve Prescott.
Yeah.
If we can ever answer or help you get some direction and clarity on your real estate needs, we'd love to help you out. Reach out to any of our agents here at REMAX and Rebecca or myself. Happy to help. So have a great day.